channel. It's your host Akbar today. Got a few guests with me to talk about the squad that was announced yesterday for Pakistan's Test series against South Africa that starts on the 26th of January. Got Imi, Hamza, and Shazad with me. Assalamualaikum boys, how are we doing?
Very well, thanks.
Good. There's been a lot of debate, obviously, about the squad that was announced yesterday. A lot of stuff on social media, lots of pros, lots of cons. A squad, I think, that has quite a lot of a nod towards domestic cricket. And I think there are some people that are quite annoyed with people that have been excluded and included. So obviously, we're going to talk about some of the ins and the outs. As a kind of starter, it would be good to hear from or see from you guys, very generally, thumbs up or thumbs down for the squad that was announced. Give me a
Who do you want to start with?
All of you at the same time. I want to know who gives it a thumbs up, who gives it a thumb down.
Definitely up from me.
Hamza's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thumbs up from Shazad, Imi? Thumbs up. Okay, that's good to know. Hamza, why don't you start? Generally,
definitely yes.
Yeah, Hamza, why don't you start then? Generally speaking, why a thumbs up?
Generally speaking, one of the problems we've had with selection over the years, and actually Misbah's slowly, under his era, started to get this right. I think by the Australia tour, he generally started to get it right, is there was no actual deadwood left in the squad. There's no one in that squad where you can literally say, I don't have a clue what that person's doing there. There's no logic behind that person being there. They're not performing. Why are they there? I think everyone's, all of the 8 or 9 uncapped players that are in the squad, they all, in some regards, you can defend their selection, even if 1 or 2 we might disagree with, which we can debate later. I think all of the players that are in the squad, you can kind of justify pretty much everyone. And that's the really refreshing thing for me. I remember the days where, you'd have certain characters in the squad and you just think, they're not good enough to be there. There's no logic for them being there. So that's the good thing for me, I think. Mohamed Wasim's got right. Pretty much everyone who's there, you can justify the selection. Even if you might disagree with 1 or 2, you can justify it.
One name, Hamza, that you pick out from there that you're particularly happy to see, if there was one?
Probably Kamran Ghulam.
Okay.
He just piled on the runs in the Qaid-e-Azam. Strike while the iron's hot. We're struggling in the middle order. No one's making runs. He's piling on runs in Pakistan. You've got a tour in Pakistan. It'd be stupid not to play him.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll come on to talk about him in a bit. Obviously, there's going to be a few players I think to discuss in more detail. Shazad, you were giving it a thumbs up as well. Again, maybe one name from there that you pick out that kind of makes you put your thumb up on that one.
I'll give you an overall view. First of all, I'm very happy that international cricket is coming back to Pakistan. It's probably after such a long time, one of the big names and the cricket teams are coming to Pakistan. So congratulations to everyone. Really excited, looking forward to it. So with a new selector, obviously, we were expecting a lot of changes to come through, but the expectation of these many changes were not probably anticipated. But having said that, I think it's a very positive move, the selections he has made. If we look at the selection criteria, how it starts, as I think I read and listened to the same conference as well, he explain in very detail the procedures he has taken, like the step-by-step approach, how he started, why he included, why he excluded, and he kept informed the players who were excluded. So that was a very, very positive attitude from the management, which we have been hearing in the past, that we've not been treated well, or we haven't been given any sort of respect. So I think that's where a few things which has improved once he has come onto the scene. In terms of team, from his understanding, what I understood, that again, he maintained the theory of horses for courses. So first thing to look at is the team that is coming to visit us. What strengths do they have? Once you've analyzed those strengths, then you kind of counteract what we could do to probably mitigate those strengths. To starting with, I think they have identified correctly that South Africa has really good fast bowlers, like a couple of them clocking 150 plus. So how can we counteract that? So the pitches has to be made spinner friendly. so that we can take the advantage on our side. So keeping that in mind, I think the team he has given, the spin department, is trying to make it very strong. Yasser Shah still makes the cut because of his experience, and I don't think we have any other leg spinner in domestic or anywhere in our probably club teams as well. So Yasser Shah makes a cut as a leg spinner. We desperately needed someone who can off spin, so that's where Noman Ali and Sajid Khan. They both are off spinners, but one is right hand and one is left arm. So very good combination. I'm really happy for Noman Ali. He has been performing consistently for some couple of years now. So I would like to see him play as well, depending on how the team takes a decision going forward, whether they want batting strength or they want the bowling strength. If they do go for the bowling strength, then Nawaz can play an important role because he's a good replacement of Noman Ali in a way, because they both are left arm off spinners, but Nawaz was like ranked 4th or 5th in runs as well. He scored about 800 odd runs in the last Kaizen Trophy. So if we go for the batting strength, so Nawaz will be one spinner along with Yasser, and also some of the new batsmen, new faces. For example, Saud Shakil, he can do spinning as well. So we have really good options in there. Right, so spinning department, he has tried to make it very strong, which is very good. And this is what we're going to make on the pitches and make an impact from these players. Overall team, you look at how we can counteract, then you select your first 11, right? When you select your first 11, you look at the certain players that will play, right? When you form that combination, and then you look at who is playing and who's not playing, overall, there wouldn't be a lot of changes, to be honest. If we read through the 11, I think the opener one name will be certain, which is Abid Ali.
Yeah.
Right? And along with Abid Ali, there has to be one newcomer. We have two other names, which is Imran Butt. He will be definitely playing. He scored really well in the past, rather than Trophy. So one spot he will take. And after that, we have all the regulars, like Babar Azam will be there, Azrali will be there,
Yeah. So
will be there.
we will go through the team. Like you say, it sounds like you're kind of broadly pretty happy with the squad that was selected. We will definitely go through the 11, and we'll give our 11s at some point as well, I think, if we can. I see that Cal's joined us as well. Cal, how's it going?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, alhamdulillah, all good.
Good to see you. So we all kind of gave our thumbs up or thumbs down on the squad, mainly kind of thumbs up earlier. When you look at those names on there, what are your thoughts? You kind of happy with the squad that's been picked?
Yeah, I think alhamdulillah, the new chief selector, I think he's doing good basically. Obviously, he's rewarded the players who have done well in the tournament what's just gone by. So some may be questionable, but I think some of the names were in there pretty good. They deserved a shot, I think, basically.
Okay.
And the ones that got dropped, I think they had to get dropped. There should have been a couple of more, but maybe,
Yeah. So we'll go through the players that have been dropped. There was a comment that came up from Zaid about Zaid Mahmood. Hamza, I'm going to go to you on this one. Zaid Mahmood, what have you seen of him, spinner in domestic cricket? Do you think he was a little bit unlucky to not be picked?
Nah, Yasser's still the best leggy in Pakistan. In spin conditions, I'd always go with Yasser. Zaid Mahmood, I think he's a good white ball option. Although I actually think Usman Khadir is better than him personally. He's got a lovely googly, but no, I would have stuck with Yasser.
Imi, your thoughts on Zaid Mahmood as well? I know you follow the domestic quite closely.
Yeah, reasonably. Basically, very good bowler. But then, if you look at his domestic stats this year, he was behind Sajid Khan and he's behind Noman.
Mm-hmm.
And then, basically, what this has given us, we've got 4 spinners there now, 4 regular spinners. We've got Yasser with the experience and the leggy. We've got Noman, who's got the left arm. You've got Sajid, who is the regular offie with the right arm. And then you've got Kamran Ghulam, who gives you the all-round option.
Mm-hmm.
Mohamed Nawaz, sorry.
Yeah.
Gives you the all-round option. So you can either go for Nawaz or you can go for him, depending on the pitch. So that covers all the bases. So I can understand basically people saying about Zahid, but as Rian just said as well just now, and I know who Rian is, Assalamu alaikum, bro. These guys are doing an amazing job. Grassroots cricket, young boys, and they're living their dream right now. Absolutely wonderful. But yeah, he's got a first class average of 36, and this is the first time he's bowled, and he was a third best bowler. So I can understand him not being picked here.
That's something we'll probably come back to, actually, the kind of how many seasons do you need to have done well in to be picked, and is one good season or two good seasons enough to be picked for the Pakistan team? I think the first thing we'll come to, or the next thing we'll come to, is kind of the players that have been dropped from the New Zealand series. So we've just got them up on the screen here. So we've got Shan, Haris, Zafar Gohar, Mohammad Abbas, Sahil Khan, Naseem Shah, Shadab, and Imam are injured. Shazad, if I come to you, which of those kind of surprises you? Anyone there that you wouldn't have maybe axed at all?
The exclusions that have been made, I think starting from Shan Masood, he has talent, right? And he has done it in the past, but from his last few games, he wasn't clicking at all. I think in the last match in New Zealand series, we were all in kind of agreement he probably needs to go back and have some rest, probably needs to freshen up his mind and come back with more strength. Haris Sohail, same category, not performing in the last few matches. Again, he needs to go back and probably work on his technique and further weaknesses he has. Zafar Gohar, playing him in the last test, he wasn't even probably compatible with the conditions. So it would be unfair to say that anything could have been off him to make an impact in that match. And
how does, sorry to interrupt that, so how does Zafar get into a squad of 35 for New Zealand but doesn't get into in away conditions, and how does he not get into a squad of 20 for home conditions? I can't see the thinking there, to be honest.
I think that's where the personal preferences comes in. Like each individual who comes in power,
so
he has his
got
own
a different chief selector. So that's, we've got to take that into consideration. So he might have been in Misbah's plans, but he's not in the new guy's.
Absolutely. I mean, having a new person coming in, it makes a lot of difference. He has his own plans, his ideas, his strategies. Zafar Gohar, in my opinion as well, like I would rather have selected Mohammad Nawaz over Zafar Gohar. He's a better batsman and he's a better spinner than Zafar Gohar, in my opinion. So for Mohammad Wasim as well, that might be the case. Mohammad Nawaz has performed really well in the last season. He scored runs, he's taken wickets as well. Zafar Gohar, I think he was a makeshift in the last New Zealand series. Probably he needs to go back and work a lot before he comes back into the team. Mohammad Abbas, again, we regard him as our strike bowler, our prime bowler, but the responsibility that was on his shoulder, he wasn't probably taking it in full. Like he was a bit being disappointed in the manner that what expectations we have from him, he wasn't meeting them. So again, these all players which have been dropped, they are still plan of Pakistani team in the future, but probably this is a good kind of strategies to leave them in one series and probably they perform better and come back.
Okay, Cal, coming to you on Shan Masood. I know at the end of the last series, quite a few of us were quite scathing about Shan because of his form since he got that 100 against England. Our next 2 years, Pakistan play exclusively either in the subcontinent or the Caribbean. So we don't play in South Africa, England, New Zealand, or Australia in Test cricket for 2 years. Shan Masood's last two tests in Pakistan against Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, he got hundreds. Do you think it's a bit harsh, given that for the next 2 years we're playing at home, we've dropped the guy who just got a couple of hundreds in home conditions? Or would you say, no, he was too bad in New Zealand and England and he needs to go?
You see what it is? It's not all about the batting. Do you see how badly he fielded? Yeah. Even the catches what he dropped, if he caught them, okay, if he batted badly, fair enough, he batted badly, yeah. But them catches, if he caught them catches, yeah, it might have been a total different, game changer for us. At that stage, if he caught them catches, we could have been in a winning position. So you can't just put it down to his batting. You got to put it down to all-round performance, and all-round his performance has been, I can't even explain it, And then not even taking the game serious. Okay, fair enough. If you're having a bad day, fair enough. You're having a bad day at the office, yeah. But then you're laughing and joking about it, yeah. That's just unresponsible. Sorry, but I would have dropped him. I won't even play him for the second and third test. But,
Hamza, for you then, Hamza, does Shan go right to the back of the queue? So if Abid fails and Imran Butt fails and Abdullah Shafiq, and then the next opener and the next opener, and then Shan makes runs for 2 years, he comes back in? Or would you say the next opener that fails, Shan is back in? What do you think? This is a kind of a hard dropping? Go back and if in 2 years' time you're in form, you can play, or is this kind of, well, we'll try someone else and you're back in if they don't work?
The thing is, there's two ways of looking at this. Do you bring Shan back, who made runs against two of the weakest bowling attacks, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka at home? Now that you see that the guy is basically clueless in the centre conditions, he had a short window where he did okay in South Africa, where he made starts without kicking on, and that's it. So do you play him for the next 2 years, knowing he's useless outside of home conditions and against a half-decent bowling attack, or do you use these 2 years to find that next Saeed Anwar who can bat everywhere? If you're sensible, you do the latter. You don't just try and find someone who can bat against Bangladesh and Sri Lanka on a dead pitch in Karachi. You try and invest those 2 years in, okay, we need to find someone who can bat in the UAE, in Karachi, and make some runs in Lords or the Gabba. That's what you want to do. So I want to see them over the next 2 years move away from Shan, try and invest some time in Shafiq or Imran Butt and Imam, who have basically shown that they've got. Yeah, I know Imam hasn't done it in tests, but he's actually piled on the runs in ODIs, and people keep neglecting that. I think only Saeed Anwar has made more runs as an opener for more hundreds as an opener for Pakistan, I believe, than Imam. I mean, you can't just ignore that. So he's got something. So I think people need to invest in Imam a little bit, and maybe Shafiq or Imran. But I'm not a fan of Abid. I think he's another Shan. If it's a dead pitch and it's Sri Lanka, I think Abid will be all right. But you need to invest in someone who's going to do something. If you have aspirations to become number one, you need to be making some runs in the centre condition. So I want us to look away from these guys who basically have proven they can't do anything outside of Asia.
Kimmy, what were you going to add something there?
Yeah, just a quick one on Shan. He had a good, a reasonably decent tour of South Africa. And then Australia as well, he wasn't too bad. And then he finished off with these 300s in a row. And he's had 9 failures after that. It is confidence, I think. And as Kalja put out, maybe he's completely shot of confidence, because once nothing's going right with your batting, it sort of goes into your fielding and other aspects of your game. But this one's for you, Doc. I'm just going to ask you a quick question.
No.
After someone who's played in all the centre conditions as an opener, do you give him one last home series, or is that it? I'm just basically exploring.
I think it's fair enough to have dropped him. I think he was quite after the. I mean, someone's obviously Zaid mentioned there about the 150 at Old Trafford. I think since that innings he's got 33 in 8 innings, so he's averaging about 4 in the past kind of eight innings, which is obviously not good enough. I think it's probably time to discard and move on, if I'm honest. I think the plan, obviously we'll look at the inclusions in a little while as well. I think the plan probably is to open someone with Abid, whether that's Abdullah Shafiq or Imran Butt. But yeah, I think I probably would have said that that's the end for Shan for now. I don't necessarily think it's kind of he's right at the back of the queue. I think he's probably 2 or 3 injuries away, or 2 or 3 losses of form away from being considered again. But he's got to go back into domestic cricket and perform well. Shazad, just one for you. Why has Mohammad Abbas been dropped? Bearing in mind he has still got a pretty good average in Test cricket. He's been one of our better bowlers in the past couple of years. Is it something you agree with?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? I just missed your voice.
Mohammad Abbas, he's been dropped. Do you think something that you agree with, given that he's still one of our better bowlers, looking at the numbers?
Again, as I said, it's the expectation we had from him. The responsibility he had, he was our most senior. We expected him to lead over attack and give a performance which could win us matches. So he wasn't leading from the front, like he wasn't setting up the example that we were expecting of him. So he is still our prime bowler, I would say, but he has been just rested to just make him realize that he's not an automatic choice. So he has to do what is expected of him. I think he'll be back in probably next series, but sometimes just a reset button can make things better. So I think this is what I think Mohammad Wasim is planning for him.
Okay. Hamza, he averages 19 in the subcontinent. I think 36 wickets at an average of 19 in Pakistan.
And just a quick one. Basically, he only played 3 games for the QEA this season. Obviously, because he went to Pakistan. He got 14 wickets at 11.07 apiece. So 11 runs apiece for 14 wickets in 3 games, not bad. So probably he's just been basically dropped on his international form. If we're looking at just the domestic form, he probably would have made the team.
Yeah, that's the.
Do you think it is? Do you think this is one of the soft droppings then? That actually you'll be back probably next series or the series after, rather than kind of back of the queue and see you in 3 years kind of thing.
Yeah, I think guys like Abbas, maybe Sohail, Harris Sohail, I think they're more of a rest. You know, maybe they'll go to the National Academy or something and sort of fine tune a little bit. Or I think Abbas just needs a rest. He's bowled a lot of overs. I really would have been tempted to play him though. As Imi said, he's actually got a really good record at home. I don't think that the South African thing about Abbas, one of the reasons why he gets so many wickets, if you've got a slightly loose technique, he'll get you. And at the domestic level, there's a big gap in any form of the game, in any domestic system, whether it's Australia or Pakistan. There's a big gap between the international batsman and the domestic batsman. So I think he gets a lot of wickets just sort of noodling away outside of stump with just a little bit of movement, and you get caught in the slips. And I don't think this isn't South Africa 10 years ago where it's Smith, Ambler, Callis, guys like that coming in at the top. So they're actually in a similar position to us, where there's a lot of people that we don't really know, and they don't know a lot of our players either. And we're sort of experimenting, trying to find our feet. So I would have been tempted to have stuck with Abbas, but I can understand him being dropped. But that was a start. I hope it's a soft dropping. I don't think this is. I don't think this is the same as Shan.
Fine. Welcome time to everyone in the comments. By the way, we'll try and get to some comments as well as we go along, and we'll try and answer some of the queries that are coming through. Cal, one for you. Since 2010, right, 90 fast bowlers have taken 20 wickets or more. Okay, and Naseem Shah is one of them. He's taken 20 wickets. In terms of bowling average, he is ranked number 86 out of 90 bowlers. So there's only 4 worse bowlers than him in the past 10 years for bowling average. I know he's a young kid. Obviously, he's injured. He's as far as we can see anyway, he's got a niggle, I think they said, and that's why he's not in the squad. Cal, would you bring Naseem Shah back when he's fit, or does he need 1 or 2 years in domestic cricket to work on a few things? What do you reckon?
I'd leave him in. I'd bring him in after 1 or 2 years. Work on domestic, get a bit of overs behind you, and then bring him into the main limelight, because they're chucking him straight into the deep end. If he's gonna, there's too much pressure. If he's playing domestic, take a bit of pressure on, get a few overs bowled in, and that, then he knows what to do. We can, learn a little bit more. Right now, he's still young. He's got plenty of time. So I think you should spend maybe one at least a year in domestic circuit, and then come on to the senior, and at least he's got a few overs behind him. He's got a bit of experience. He's got more, ability of handling pressure as well. I think he'll be a lot better bowler because he's got the speed and everything. He just needs to, get his average down a bit. Get more line and length right. I think he'll be a very good bowler.
Hands up, anyone who would bring Naseem Shah, just out of interest. Okay, 1. Shazad, why?
So basically, what Pakistani management mentality is, they always look for Wasim Akram's and Waqar Younis and Shoaib Akhtar. Just pluck it out of the air and put them in the international scene, and they will perform. Hasn't worked with Naseem, but he does have potential. Like he has gone wayward in the last series, but when he initially came onto the scene, he performed well in Australia, I think. So he does have potential. He needs fine tuning. I think he needs better coaching. Someone needs to probably sit down with him and go through with him in detail what his technical mistakes are. I think if he's fine tuned, he can be a really lethal bowler. I really like him. He has potential. Again, that's my opinion, but probably given him some time outside the team, he's given proper training and guidance, basically. Maybe they should bring on one of the greats and Wasim Akram and make him sit with him and go through the details. After fine tuning, I will bring him back. Not 1 year is long. He doesn't
Okay.
need one.
Imi, go on. You were going to make a point.
I think Shazad just hit the nail on the head, but with he said it completely opposite. Basically, that's what he needs. But for that, he needs to go back to the domestic cricket. He needs to work in the NCA. He needs to get some overs under his belt and fine tune it and his confidence. The poor lad. I mean, and I said this on our watch-alongs as well. The poor lad. How tough can it be? Yeah, that in his first year of international cricket, he went to Australia, and he had the trauma of losing his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And then he still carried on, and now he's also been to England and been to New Zealand. Some people say, well, you know what, he's gone to bowl in friendly conditions. But on the flip side, this is where experience counts. He's never been to these places before. He doesn't know the length to bowl there. He knows the length to bowl in Pakistan. And even that's debatable because he's probably played cricket at levels where, you know, you don't get coached on that aspect. You know, we're years behind even our neighbours on coaching. So, a year, maybe 18 months, let him have some graft. And the same probably goes with Hasnain. I'd say the same with Hasnain as well. He needs a bit of time.
Okay.
He tries to play first-class cricket.
So it sounds, I mean, looking at the comments as well, it seems like Holkistan agrees as well. Mumtaz agrees with yourself, Cal, about Naseem Shah. So just again, putting the list up again. Go on.
Put out a question. Like currently, like by coincidence, he's injured. He's not been selected. But if he was not injured, what do you guys think? Mohammad Wasim would have picked him? Because from his comment, it seemed that he wanted to pick him, but he wasn't available for the selection. So, what do you guys think? What would have happened if he wasn't?
You see, the problem is, Shadad, if he fails one or two more tests, or one or two more series, they might just completely drop him. So it's benefit for him to go back into domestic circuit, learn a bit more, get a few overs behind him, and then if they want to, I'd say send him with the Pakistan A team, just to get into to know the pitches, in overseas and that, for like example in England or Australia or South Africa, just to get to know how to bowl in them conditions. Then once he knows what's going on, into the main circuit. That's what
sure. So we agreed on this point. We all are on the same page. I'll rephrase the question. Is Mohammad Wasim using it as an excuse he's injured, or would he have actually picked him up in these series?
Only he knows that, innit? We wouldn't be able to answer that, would we?
I mean, coaches and selectors will often say that, won't they? I mean, football managers are notorious for saying that, he's got a niggle, he's got whatever, and actually it's something else. So it wouldn't surprise me. Just going through a couple of the comments that are coming in about players that have not been included. So about Vagas Maqsood, we are going to come on to the inclusions in just a second. Actually, another question about or comment from Tabriz about if Haris Rauf takes his chance, is it going to be difficult for Abbas to get back in the team? Answer is probably yes, I guess, if anyone comes in and takes your place and does well. But again, as I say, we're going to come on to the inclusions in just a moment. So I guess one more time, if we have a look at this, list of exclusions, Hamza, anyone that you want to see on this list that isn't?
No, I think we've got the squad pretty much right. As I said, I probably would have still picked Abbas, but other than that, I think that's about right. It's hard on Zafar. Maybe you could make a case for him being selected ahead of Noman Ali, because Zafar was the bowler of the tournament, I think, in Quaid-e-Azam last season.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, I think it's a good squad overall.
Yeah, I think Zafar Gwar or you can't judge him on one match, one game basically. So it was a bit harsh on him, I think.
There's something we're thinking about though. Just one thing. So about Waka Yunis' coaching, by the way. I don't know if you guys remember. About 18 months ago, when we went to Australia, he was asked about Musa, Nassim, and Afridi, and he said, even if they're not selected to play, I still want them in the squad because I want to work with them. They're young, blah blah blah. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And there was a lot of talk. Now, I think none of them, other than Afridi, have progressed anywhere. I think Husnain as well. Husnain was another one he mentioned. So it's basically Afridi, Husnain, Nassim, and Musa. Other than Afridi, I don't think the other three have got anywhere. And I think a lot of that is because they've got a lot of theory in their head, and they've hardly played any games other than Afridi and Nassim. I reckon they would have progressed a lot more if they were allowed to go back to domestic and play more games. Husnain hasn't played a domestic match for 2 years, a first-class match for 2 years. I think he's only played one. I don't know if someone can check when was the last time Musa Khan played a first-class match. I can't remember seeing him this season. So I don't know. If someone can Google that, when was the last time Musa Khan? So I think Waka Yunis has a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and I think it's a point that Hokistan always makes when he's on, is that, Vagard's been our bowling coach several times now, or in a coaching capacity with us several times. No one else ever seems to want him as a coach apart from us. He keeps coming back, seems to be quite good at falling out with people, like a lot of that team from the 90s was, and then we get rid of him again. Someone else comes in, usually as a Mahmood, and then we go back to Vagard again. So, yeah, I guess there's got to be a degree of accountability as well, isn't there?
Well, I don't even know why we get him all the time. He's not made any improvements. Anytime, tell me one time when we've had him as a coach that he's made any improvements.
No, the thing is, when he was the head coach, when he left, he wrote an honest report where he got it right that Ahmed Shazad, Umar Akmal, these guys are troublemakers. So at least he can identify problems. So I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think he's got this one wrong, where he's like, I think what's happened is he's got a lot of these young guys and he's giving them all the theory, break the wrist, all that kind of stuff. And I think they need to, yeah, whatever they call it. I think they need to apply it. You know what they call it, whatever they call it. I think they need to be bowling 20 overs an innings in the Qaid-e-Azam Trophy. They need to be slugging it out in there. Experimenting, learning to fail sometimes. You learn and failing in matches where it doesn't matter. If when Nassim fails, everyone talks about it. That's because he's right in that limelight. If he experiments and fails in a Qaid-e-Azam Trophy match, no one notices, and he'll learn from those failures. Right now, it's difficult to learn from a failure if everyone's on your back.
Yeah. Okay.
So Musa Khan, he last played in December, 27th of December. He was playing for Central Punjab. But overall, his Qaid-e-Azam Trophy figures, he's got 5 matches, but his average is 65.
So you made 5 matches. He's been around for about 2-3 seasons now, and he's played 5 matches.
It's only 5 matches. Maybe he was dropped from the team. That could.
No, it's because he's been going in the Pakistan squads all the time, and he never plays.
Yeah. So we're going to come to the. I'll be with you in just a second, Amy. We're going to come on to the inclusions in a minute. Obviously, we've gone through the players that are no longer in the squad. Just as a point of interest, Haris Sahel has passed 50 once in the past 16 innings. Anyone put your hands up? Anyone fancy making a case for Haris Sahel being in the squad? No.
I love him, but no, it makes sense.
In future, but
I can't do it. No one can do it.
Okay, all right. So a lot of head shaking there. So there's a few comments coming in. Bilal and Haris are talking about the South Africa team and what kind of challenge they're going to kind of pose for us. So before we come on to the inclusions in the squad, Imi, I'll come to you. Generally, your thoughts on this South Africa team and how difficult they're going to make it for us. They last toured us in 2007, and I think they won that Test series 1-0. That was Inzi's last series.
Yeah, definitely. Just before I go into that, I just want to add something about Waqar Yunis. You know what? He was one of the most skillful bowlers ever. But with the lack of coaching experience, as in like not doing the courses, not getting these, not going through what coaching is all about, he can teach you how to reverse swing the ball. He can give you seam positions, where your wrist's supposed to be, etc. The one thing he cannot do, and he won't be able to do that, is plans. He'll struggle with plans. He will struggle to show a bowler that is Kane Williamson batting for the next 10 overs. You've got a bowl in this spot. That's where they lack it. They lack it. We saw that in Manchester, for example. I mean, in that Test match with Butler
Yeah,
and
Butler won this one, yeah.
Clear lack of plans. We saw it as soon as Nassim bowled that no ball the other day and got the wicket with the no ball. And after that, the field spreads. And I think there was a point where we went short for about 2 balls and 2 went for 4. And it was like, okay, that plan's over.
Yeah.
And plans don't work that way. You don't change the plan after 2 balls. So that's that. Moving on to the South Africa team, I think it's... I actually agree with Bilal here. Basically...
About them being one of the weakest?
Yeah, it's nowhere as strong as the one that toured in 2007. But then you could argue and say, well, we're not as strong as that either anymore.
Yeah.
I think it'll totally depend on the wickets. I think we should prepare spinning wickets because that gives us a massive advantage against their. I think our spinners versus their spinners will be ahead. But
Shazad, didn't they, as Harris says, didn't they just dominate Sri Lanka, albeit in home conditions? And when you look at their, I mean, I mentioned it the other day. I look at their batsmen, I look at our batsmen, and I get a bit scared, to be honest.
To be honest, it's just a name. South Africa is a big brand name. Like, be it any match, One Day International, World Cup, or Test matches, given their brand name is so strong, and they are strong. South Africans are mentally strong, even though they are chokers in World Cup, but in Test cricket, hands down, they are stronger. But in mentality, strength, management, coaching, guidance, like this all matter. Like the point Amy was raising, that the coaching we have, the results are not very rosy for us. There's a lot that needs to be thought about. For example, do we have all the personnel in the management who will handle players? Like, we still don't have a fielding coach. And I fail to understand why. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. This is an international team at an international platform. They don't have basic things in place. So that does make a lot of difference. So South Africa, even though they might be going to a similar stage, likely to Pakistan, but I think they have a better system. They have better coaches. They have better management. So that plays a lot of part in that.
I mean, I was going to say, I've been scarred by the likes of Paul Harris and Lance Klusner and Gibbs and all their players over the years when they haven't necessarily had the absolute best team or superstars, and they still managed to beat Pakistan. I mean, our overall record against them is pretty poor as well.
It's the mental edge, 100%.
Well, yeah, that could well be it. We're going to go on to the inclusions in just a second. Cal, I'll come to you. Was there anyone in particular that you've seen in the squad that we've now got that you think, yeah, I'm really happy kind of with them being in, batsman or bowler?
Well, is this Pakistan squad or?
Yeah, Pakistan squad. Yes.
I think Hassan Ali was a good return back. He's performed well. He's done really well. I think that's a good inclusion back.
We've got them there. We've got obviously we've got Shafiq.
South Shakil, I think he definitely should have got a chance again back in. And Kamran Ghulam as well, yeah.
Yeah, Hamza, you've been talking about Kamran Ghulam quite a lot. 50% of the runs that he's got. Like with Nassim.
Sorry, Akbar, your voice is.
Yeah, you're cutting out, Akbar. So you're saying 50% of his runs were what? Could you cut out just after that?
50%. 50% of his first-class runs have come in this one season alone. Are we in danger of just picking someone kind of straight away from domestic cricket who hasn't maybe consistently done it every year? I don't think he's been in the top 10 run scorers up until now, but I'm open to be corrected.
Yeah, it's basically because he's been treated like an all-rounder, and so he's batted down at 6 or 7. It's similar to Hussein Tullet. So, the numbers are a little skewed. If you look at Tullet's overall averages, they're sort of all in the late 30s, List A and first class. But that's because if you consider he's been treated like an all-rounder for the first couple of years of his career, they both were coming in at 6s and 7s. So if you think, well, you're averaging in the 30s and the 6s and 7s, that's not too bad. This is the first season. I saw an interview with him where he basically said that he'd been working on his batting over the summer, really tried hard. and he's worked on his technique, and he basically insisted on the coach saying, "Look, just give me a couple of matches at 4. I want to be tried as a batsman," and he started piling on the runs. So I can understand the reticence, but the reason why I was kind of backing him is if you just watch him bat. Sometimes the numbers lie, but sometimes they don't. You watch him bat; he's actually got a really nice, solid technique. That's the main thing you look for. If he was sort of slashing and hitting across the line, you'd think, all right, he's just had a lucky season. I don't think this is going to be a lucky season. I think he's going to do this quite often now.
Okay. Shazad, would you agree? You happy with Kamran Ghulam being in the squad? He's obviously top scorer in domestic this season. Second is Sal Shakil. If it comes to a battle between those two as to who takes a middle order spot, who would you kind of give it to?
Okay, Kamran Ghulam, I think the runs he has made, he's broken the records. It's one of the highest run ever scored in Kazan Trophy, and he has been playing well. Like his overall average in first class is above 50, I believe. But out of the two, South Steel, just on his technique and his temperament, I think he attracts me more. He comes across as more skillful to me. But they both are really good players. I think they should get a chance in the playing 11.
Okay. I mean, we've got, if we get the list up again of the newcomers, it seems as if Abid is going to be opening. Who do you open with him? Is it Imran Butt, who's on the New Zealand tour, or is it Abdullah Shafiq, who's played one first-class match in his life?
Right. I think it should be Imran Butt for now, because I think he's with the team in New Zealand. So I think he should have been a little bit ahead. Just on Abdullah Shafiq, yeah, he's just got the one first class game. What people don't realize is that last season he got 550 odd runs, 560. I've got it written somewhere on my phone right now. Playing, because we have first 11s and we have the second 11s.
Yeah,
they don't count under first class games because they're 3-day games. He scored 565 runs there, average over 60. So there was a performance behind that. So I can see why Abdullah was picked. I think Imran Butt is just ahead of him, but Abdullah's selection is one that it looks like Mohammad Wasim, and probably he's spoken to Babar, and he's spoken to other people, maybe Misbah, whoever it is, and they all view him as a future test opener. So it's probably giving him good exposure, good experience. But yeah, I think Imran Butt just ahead at the moment.
Okay. If we're thinking that Abid's going to open possibly with Azhar, which has been discussed, I don't think they'll do it, to be honest. I think they'll open Abid with one of the but if they open Azhar and Abid, which batsman would you pick kind of in the middle order, Cal, or do you think that the Azhar thing is just not going to happen and he'll just stay at number 3? What would you do?
Sorry, say that again.
Would you keep Azhar at 3, or would you have him opening?
And put Kamran and Saud into the middle with Babar, or
potentially, yeah.
It's possible you could do that. You can do that. You could so drop basically Abid, or
what
keep
would
Abid?
You do?
Well, Abid, to be honest with you, in home conditions, he's done really well. He hasn't done bad. So I don't think that they will drop him for the home. I think they'll definitely keep him in as the opener. Now the thing is, if they're gonna put Imad in, or what was the other one? The other opener, I forgot his name now. But I think, yeah, that's it. Yeah, but I think they'll definitely keep Abid for sure. But I think they'll keep Azhar as number 3, and just to make it, experience obviously counts, in it. So then most likely they'll keep Abid in there, and then put either what's his name?
Shafiq.
Going out of my head. Shafiq and then
Amir Sahel.
No, not Amir Sahel. He's retired long time ago. Yeah, I forgot the opener. I've got his name. Gotta get used to it. You've never played. Yeah, so basically, I'd basically keep Azhar as number 3, yeah, and obviously Babar comes in, and then just choose between Kamran and 3. But I think I'd give
Did you say Kamran Akmal?
No. Kamran Ghulam, not Kamran Ahmed.
Oh,
If I said
that's
Kamran
weird.
Ahmed, Kamar Hulkistan's listening. He'll kill me.
You better go and do. If you said Cameron Akmal, you better go and do ghusl.
You know what? Just before we carry on, guys, I'm just gonna put up something for us. Well, not put it up, but just tell you. For the next 3 guys on the list, so Salman Agha scored 940 runs in the last domestic season at 58. So Shakil 971 runs at 57. So both of them just missed out on 1,000 runs by not a lot. And Kamran Ghulam got 1,249 runs at 62.5. So that is that's your next 3 guys. They're basically picked on last season as performers. You take it over.
But again, well, my slight concern is that, again, looking at Salman Agha, and again, unless if I've got this wrong, correct me, Shazad or Hamza or anyone who follows the domestic stuff closely, I can't see that in previous seasons he's been anywhere near the, again, top 5, top 10 run scorers. Now, again, I know sometimes these players aren't playing kind of as pure batsmen. There was a tweet from, I think it was Mazhar Arshad, saying that this is a squad that will make everyone on YouTube very happy, kind of the hipsters, I guess, who kind of want all their domestic favourites in. Now, first of all, not to mention Mazhar himself has a YouTube channel, so that's an interesting comment to make. But regardless of that, Shazad, do you think he's gone a bit too kind of trying to think outside the box, a bit too kind of left field with some of these selections, players that have maybe only done well quite recently, as opposed to players that have done well maybe over the past few years?
Agha Salman is not a new name, to be honest. Like, he has been known in domestic for some time. Even this season he's performed really well. He was the 3rd highest scorer. But last season, he only played 3 matches. I don't know whether he was called for Shaheens or any other team. But in the 3 matches he's played, he's got an average of 75. He scored a century as well. So he has been doing well in domestic for a couple of seasons. I can check the previous seasons as well, but he was the name who was going to be considered.
But that's what I'm saying, is that having looked at the domestics previously, and again, correct me, Hamza, I don't know if you're giving me evils there, but if we go back past the past couple of seasons, and again, there's a comment there from Rayan as well. I mean, prior to that, I couldn't see that he had been kind of pulling up too many trees. As a more general point, if we maybe put Salman to one side, then do you think he has gone too left field picks?
No, I think this test team's struggling, and I think it makes sense what he's doing. That middle order looked awful against New Zealand, and it needed some serious surgery. The only thing that surprised me is that we didn't pick Hussein Talat. I know I bang on about him in WhatsApps, but the guy is. The thing is, Well, the thing is, he looks way more expansive a batsman than Salman Agha. Salman Agha is a sort of orthodox kind of batsman. You look at Hussein Talat. He was one of the best in the 2020 league, along with Khushdil Shah. And then he went into the first class matches. In the first 3 matches, ended up averaging 88 or something, including a 250. Went to New Zealand, did well with the Shaheens. For some reason, didn't get picked for the tests or the T20s, or the first 2 T20s. Didn't get a bat, and then he's dropped. So that doesn't make any sense to me. He's a better batsman, I think, than Agha, but I can still understand Agha getting picked. But I would have preferred Talat to Salman Agha personally. He's more of an expansive batsman. But Agha's not going to play because Saud and
this is the point
ahead of him anyway.
Yeah, don't forget, this currently team is of 20, right? So this will be cut to 16 when it's announced. So a lot of the new players will be getting an X probably.
So
Agha won't get picked.
What's the point of going from 20 to 16 in a few days?
I think it's your bubble. So they've got the 20 players just in case any mishaps happen. They've got all bases covered, and I think even the 4 players who are going to be taken away will still stay with the squad, but they'll just be told that they won't be a part of the.
So basically, what they're doing, they're creating a bubble because of COVID. They're creating a bubble of 20. So 16 will be definite. So if something goes wrong, so they already announced a cushion as well. So there's no surprises.
Yeah, but the other 4 are going to stay with the squad. So they stay with the squad regardless. Mohamed Nawaz, you know what? He's next on the line. It's an interesting one. I was looking at Mohamed Nawaz earlier, and I looked at his bowling stats, and like averaged about 37. I think Ryan might be able to tell that better. He probably knows at the top of his head in the comments. But I think it's about 37, and I thought to myself, what have they just done? He hasn't bowled well at all. And then I looked at his batting, and he's got 823 runs, and I'm like, eh? So it's one of them where, again, it's performance, QEA performance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which I like actually. I think that's good. I think that you can justify that. That's the thing. Like, it's a much more competitive Guardi Azam Trophy than in previous seasons. More high profile, better quality of cricket. So I think you can dip into the Guardi Azam Trophy as a result. I think like that.
Yeah, but saying his age, 37? Would you want to, carry on playing him? Or do you, Mohamed Nawaz?
No, he's about 27.
Oh, I thought you said
37.
Okay.
So
Nawaz is 27, I think.
Cal, just coming to you then. Obviously, we see Haris Rauf in that squad. I don't think Haris Rauf has played much, if any, first-class cricket. He's obviously known more as a 2020 player. What are your thoughts on bringing in Australia did it with David Warner. Obviously, different player, different country, different specialty. But in terms of bringing a player straight from T20s into a test squad,
I don't think they should have put him into test straight away, because I don't think he's got the temperament. He loses the temper really quick, and with test cricket you need to have a lot of patience. Yeah, and he loses his temper really quick. I don't know if you've seen it or not. In test cricket, he loses it straight away. So you need to have a really good temperament, and you need to have a lot of patience in test cricket. So just on that basis, I don't think they should have put him straight into test yet. I don't even think he's ready enough to play into test yet.
Hands up who disagrees.
It's a very, very long game.
Shazad, you disagree? Go on.
Yeah, I think it's about our history, our heritage. We have been doing this, like we did it with Naseem. So experiment is something Pakistan is very consistent at doing at each series selection. So with Rauf, I think the idea is, if we look at the bowling options, we have no one who can clock 150 plus. So he's the only one who's faster than others. So having Naseem, Musa, Hasnan out of the team, we need someone with aggression and with pace. So only one option we had in mind was Haris Rauf. Even though he doesn't have a lot of experience with the red ball, but he's been doing really well in D20s. Like his average is about 20, right? So he can be an aggression and attitude tool if he's been in the team. So that's the only reason. There was no other alternatives. So we needed someone with pace. I think Haris Rauf is the option. So it can be a wild card. He might be a very bad miss, but if he clicks, he can be really good aggression, attitude, and a really good hit in the team.
Amy, go on.
I think Haris. I mean, if we sat here an hour before the thing, none of us would have predicted Haris Rauf to be in the squad. So I think that's just probably chief selector's gut instinct. He probably sees something in him that, he probably sees a player in him that we don't see. So, but fair dues. I mean, if you're a chief selector and you're putting out a squad of 20, you can go for one or two players that you just basically just on your gut instinct. Well,
I think he has. He has. So he did go with two players, namely Abdullah Shafiq and Haris Rauf. So these are his wild cards. No experience, no stats, but he has seen potential probably, and we'll see how they play on.
And I guess to be fair, I mean, just thinking now, there are probably other examples. You think of someone like Jofra Archer was, fast tracked quite quickly into the England Test team, and then obviously Butler was picked a couple of years back now. Purely based on kind of IPL form. So I guess we have kind of seen that to some degree where players will come in from T20 cricket as a bit of a hunch.
But would you not play him first into one day and then bring him into Text? I don't even think he's played any one day games.
Did he not play in the Zimbabwe series that we just had? Not so long ago.
Did he? I can't remember.
I think he.
Did he? Anybody else?
Series, but
Haris
I agree.
already played 2 one-day international for Pakistan. and 11 T20s.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's not very much. Is it?
Yeah, he has played.
And the other thing is the options. I think as Zad was like mentioned, Vakaz Maksud. If you look at the QEA Trophy like performances, the spinners really did dominate.
That says it.
So there isn't really a lot of options. I mean, Vakaz was probably the only one that you could probably say, you know what, he's probably done enough to be picked. But then like, it's like if you're gonna go for Tabish, who's 36, and you're gonna go for Vakaz, who's 33. You're not exactly looking at, beyond the next couple of years, are you?
And Vikas is already 34 as well, so he's in the same category as Tabish. He has been doing well, but his overall average kind of falls above 30, 35. Tabish, on the other hand, they're in the same category. So who would you pick, Tabish or Vikas? So Tabish gets the edge.
For me, it would have been Vakaz. As a bowler, it's Vakaz. But Tabish, there was a lot of media pressure. Even an hour before the squad was announced, there was major outlets tweeting out, and they were tagging Mohammad Wasim saying, "Are you going to ignore him?" And they were putting videos from 5 years ago where Mohammad Wasim was like on a show saying, Tabish Hunt should get a look in. Well, that's 5 years ago, and they're basically putting it onto him right now, saying, "Are you gonna like do it?" So I think there's a lot of pressure, and he sort of succumbed to that.
What is he? 30?
Yeah,
Tabish is basically. I think he's a like for Abbas. He's a little bit quicker than Abbas, but he actually gets outswing. That was the thing we were missing in New Zealand. The ball hardly moved, and I think it might be worth thinking about playing Tabish as a third seamer. You know, if you watch him bowl, he does get some good at outswingers. There's not much pace. Only maybe probably a little bit quicker than Abbas.
Yes,
I guess
Tabish is quicker than Abbas, and I totally agree with Hamza. Like replacement, whoever has gone out of the team, what alternatives do we have? So Abbas alternative being Vakaz. Vakaz is one-dimensional. Tabish can swing both ways, and to be honest, I believe in hard work does pays off. So he's got about nearly 600 wickets. So he's almost like at the end of his career. So having the green badge or green cap on him, it's a proud moment for him. So I have a soft corner. I do feel for him. He should have been picked probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago when he was at his peak. But I think he deserves a chance purely based on his hard work, his consistency he has. And replacement for Abbas, Tabish is probably a better option.
Yeah, but what you're looking at.
It's a nice kind of heartwarming story. I agree to an extent in that obviously you've got a guy who's been running in hard in domestic cricket for years and years and years, 600 wickets as we say. There's a point that Rayan makes that I was going to make as well actually. If you look at his average in the past couple of years though, and I have to profess I haven't watched every single Pakistan domestic game by a long shot, but his average is in the 30s and 40s in the past couple of years. It almost feels like the time to pick him probably was 3-4 years ago. Just because you got it wrong back then, does it mean you get it wrong again by now picking him at the wrong time? That would be my kind of slight concern about that one.
I totally agree. He should have been picked when he was at his peak. So this is more like a soft-hearted selection.
We won't be saying
just to reward him.
We won't be happy with that when he's none for 120 off 25 overs or something in the test next week. But yeah, I guess
be honest. I'm not 100% sure that he will be part of the playing 11.
Yes, true.
And I doubt he will be.
If it's be seamers, it'll be Hassan. It will be
Afridi.
Afridi. I was thinking who's the other one? Shaheen, obviously, and Fahim.
So we have Fahim, Hassan, and Shaheen. They might be a starter, and they will be between probably Rauf and Tabish, but Rauf will get preference.
So are we thinking Karachi's going to have more in it for the fast bowlers? Sorry. Let me say that again. Karachi's going to be possibly a kind of a wicket that suits everyone. It will turn a little bit as well. Bindi I always think of as being a bit more kind of for seamers. Are they really going to take this horses for courses thing into the 2 test series as well, Hamza? Do you reckon they'll pick specifically for the conditions at Karachi and Pindi, or are you expecting in a 2 test series pick the same team regardless?
I'm hoping they prepare some slightly dead pitches that spin a bit, because we just need to win. You know, it's the first time we're playing at home for donkey's years. Let's prepare some pitches that work for us. Allow our batsmen to make some runs. Don't play your bloody all-rounders. I'm sick and tired of everyone going on about Fahim. Our standards are so low for him that when he does something with the bat all of a sudden and doesn't get tonked for fours every time, we're suddenly like, this guy's the new Imran Khan. All right, play two spinners, Yasser turning it away from the right-hander, Sajid, whatever that guy's name is, turning it into the right-hander, and that's it. You know, the other two seamers are going to be obviously Hassan and Afridi, and just let them do it. You know, because then there's no need for a fifth bowler, because then you've got two spinners. They're just going to be bowling in tandem, and you're going to have the seamers rotating at one end or each end. So that's it. You don't need Fahim.
Don't you think? Sorry.
No, please, Cal. Go on. Sorry.
Don't you think Fahim's improved in his batting since he's come back, Hamza?
Yeah, but you're talking about someone who is utterly useless with the bat.
Not in tests.
He was useless in any form of the game with the bat. He never did anything. He did one match in a warm-up against Bangladesh, and people still talked about that for 2 bloody years.
Yeah, but since he's come back, Hamza, he's done well. He hasn't done bad.
Horses for courses. If we're in New Zealand tomorrow, he's my fourth seamer. I'm batting him at 8. Yeah, because none of our spinners are going to do bugger all in New Zealand.
No, but even bowling-wise, he didn't bowl bad. You know, he
took 3 wickets in 3 innings, in 3 tests.
Yeah, but how much score did he give?
Yeah, but we don't need him to bat. We need 6 batsmen. We need to get 500, 400 runs. Why are you weakening the batting?
But our batting isn't clicking anyway. If you think about it, if the batters aren't scoring any score,
play 6 batsmen. So how do you strengthen the batting by weakening it? Play 6 batsmen. You're not weakening it.
Look, he scored runs.
He's an all-rounder. He's an all-rounder. Play 6 batsmen.
In the last 2 years.
Average of 46.
Who?
Fahim.
In how many innings? 3?
But are we not judging other players on just a few innings? We said Salman played 3 games last year. Abdullah Shafiq's played 1 first-class game in his career. There's got to be another.
I probably wouldn't have picked Shafiq. I'm not going to pick him.
There you go. Breaking news. Hamza wouldn't have picked him. So obviously we've got to
Hamza to snub live.
We've got to wrap this up fairly soon. So I'm just going to put the inclusions up again. Okay. So does anyone have a name that they want to mention that we haven't already kind of gone over, or a name that they feel kind of should have been on there but isn't? Or are we all happy that there's enough?
One thing I was confused with selecting Sarfraz Ahmed again and again. I think is there any future plan for him? What is the strategy behind picking him? If we have Mohammad Rizwan, shouldn't a younger player like Rohail Nazir be getting a chance just to be with the team, or at least getting a chance if something happens to like Touchwood Mohammad Rizwan? So what's the point of picking up Sarfraz Ahmed?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. Do you think this is this just that nod to experience that we kind of seem to like it?
I think what it is, they just basically don't want the backlash of just dropping Sarfraz completely, and people saying, "Oh, you've dropped him. What happened? This, that, and the other." That's the only reason. Otherwise,
exactly. The thing is, if Sarfraz was smart, he'd think, you know what? Let me go back to domestic, pile on runs, put pressure on Riz, but he's not doing that. He likes to be in and around the squad. He wants to sort of act like a senior, blah blah blah. If he had a brain, he'd go back to domestic, make some runs. If you want to put pressure on Riz, you need to be making runs. There's no pressure on Riz by you just hanging around carrying drinks.
Amy, go on.
You need 2 keepers though in the bubble, don't you? I mean, something happens to one.
You have Rahel.
Even during the game. You know, I'm not saying about stuff. I'm just generally speaking about 2 keepers.
Yeah.
Even with the concussion sub, say like mid-game, if God forbid something happened to Riz, then you've always got the keeper. I would have gone with Rohail, but they've gone with Sarfraz. So
it makes sense, innit? If you basically Rohail should be the future. Obviously, he's a youngster. Obviously, he needs a bit of experience. So you really should have him as the backup. So Safraz, I only think logically the only reason behind it is they just don't want the backlash or people saying, "Oh, why you dropped him? He's got experience, this, that, and the other." You know, that's the only reason.
I think one of us made a really good comment that his stats are not there. It's disappearing. He's not doing anything. He's just sitting at the bench and warming up the seat. He needs to go back into domestic, put pressure on the team, on the selectors, like piling up the runs, giving good performances. If a comparison comes in, like should Safraz be replacing Rizwan, how can the decision be made if there's no stats, nothing to look at, like nothing to go back and see where he performed well. So instead of just trailing
let's clarify one thing. He was his own biggest enemy, especially in limited overs cricket. He dropped down the order. He kept
showed no leadership.
Seniors, they said, "Oh, go Malik Bhai, jao batting karo, koi baat nahi hai." Right, where he should have been going out batting. Yeah. I'm gonna do Hamza now. I'm gonna start flipping, and basically, you should bat at 8 and 9 in the World Cup. Like those games where he was batting at 8 and 9, coming out in the last 2 overs, he cost himself. He would have still been captain, I think, if he showed a bit of ball.
He totally coasted as a captain. He totally coasted. You know, his glove work got all shoddy. He put on weight. As you said, he showed no leadership in the white ball games. His test form went down. He totally deserved to get dropped, and he should be out. He should be in domestic, piling on runs. That's what he should be doing, fighting to get back into the team. But he likes to go on the tours. He likes to act like a senior in the squad. Blah blah blah. So it's kind of disappointing.
To be honest, it's not like he's useless. He has potential, right? There was an era where we had Rashid Latif and Moin Khan. Like both of them kept coming in and out of the team. So we should have the same competition between Rizwan and Sarfraz, but carrying them both at the same point, I think it's not a good strategy.
Right, guys, let's move on.
Yeah.
So have we done our 11s?
No, so there's absolutely no way in the next 3 hours we're going to agree on 11. So that is going to be, I think we're probably going to try and do another preview show when the slightly shortened squad is made. We can go away, make some 11s, and come back. I know you do like an 11, Hunter, so we'll definitely have a long.
Lucky disappointed of that. There, he was waiting to name his 11.
Can't we take 5 minutes that just everyone can give their own, like within 30?
No, but you don't know. You might know because if they might even cut the 4 out. So Shazad, you don't know.
Your choice.
What we're going to do now? I'll tell you what we're going to do now. Okay, so we've gone through the squad, we've gone through the players dropped and the players that are coming in. We'll reconvene and we'll go through whatever the shortened squad is and make some 11s. It would be just as in the final few minutes. I thought it would be interesting, given that our record, look as you see on the screen, the record against South Africa in Test cricket is pretty awful. So we've won 4 out of 26 over the years, and not many of them, if any, I think, have been in series wins. So for anyone who is watching wants to put a comment in, now is the time. Generally, and you guys as well, of course, memories, good memories, bad memories of Pakistan playing South Africa over the years for whatever reason. Maybe it's kind of games that you've been to or things like that. I'm going to start, Imi, you've been to quite a few games. Imi, memories of Pakistan, South Africa, and what are you particularly looking forward to in this series?
I've never been to a Pakistan South Africa test game, only limited overs.
Any memories from playing South Africa? Just a one day.
Semi-final. Can't really get the T20, so I can't really beat that. Being live in the crowd that day. Champions Trophy 17 was pretty good as well, but yeah, the World Cup 09 was my favourite. Test, I think Azama's debut, but that was watching it on TV back in I think 96 was it or 97. That was a great memory.
Go on, Shazad.
So, I have one memory of a test match, which when I still meet my uncles, we talk about. So there was a test match between Pakistan and South Africa, and the momentum of the match was that Pakistan only needed 100 odd runs to win in the 4th innings, and it was the 5th day. It was a weekday, and the mayor of it was in Faisalabad in my city. So the mayor of Faisalabad, he gave a public holiday. He said all schools and colleges closed. Go to the match, cheer your team up. I'm going to win this match by just scoring bloody 100 odd runs. But the odd thing was we lost all the wickets in 70 odd runs. And that is still, there's something, it kind of is, taken it with a pinch of salt. Like we still talk about how it was a day off for the whole city, and we were going to celebrate, and we lost.
The moment he said we needed 100 runs to win, yeah, I said, "Oh my god!"
No, we're not going to do that one.
I didn't even know what the result of this game was, but I just knew we lost it.
But the funny thing was, the public holiday, and Inzamam was a captain, and he was on the crease, and oh god, that is something that really it pinches me right.
Hamza, what about you? Good memories, bad memories of playing South Africa in any competition?
In test matches, it's always bad memories. I think probably 2007 tour. You know, Shoaib Akhtar and Mohamed Asif were in that team that
Yes.
won one of the test matches, and Shoaib Akhtar blew him away, and then he got injured the next
one,
he won us the second one single-handedly, and then we got blown away for the third one. Always bad memories. I think Shoaib Akhtar probably got his yearly dose of genital warts or something. So it's always bad with South Africa.
Cal, what about
For
you?
me, basically, I think I'm not sure about test, but 2020, I think same as Amy, 09, I think it was in Nottingham. That was a good game. But the other game, there was one where we were playing in UAE, where we needed about 100 or some runs, and Abdur Razak came in. And we were like, basically, we had lost the match, and he just come in and smashed 100 or something, and he made us winners the game. That was a really good game, what I remember. I don't know if you remember or not.
Yeah, no, I do. I remember. So there was a one-day series in the Emirates, which we lost because we lost pretty much every one-day series in the Emirates that we played against anyone. And I think that was the series. That was the series that Zulkarnain had his whole controversy. So there was a lot going on. I remember that was a great game. It's probably one of Razak's best ever innings.
Yeah.
I had to sign up for a Bet365 account to watch that game. So just bringing it full circle, it's so good that the games are now on, well, for those of us in the UK anyway, that the games are on Sky Sports, and we don't have to sign up to weird betting companies to watch the game or anything like that. So that's good. I guess my other memory would be, go on, Shazad, you got your hand up, go for it.
No, sorry, I was thinking you're wrapping up because I have a question after that, so you can complete your memory.
Well, my memory's a bad memory, so sorry. It's the 99 World Cup. We beat Australia, who won the tournament in the group stage. We beat New Zealand in the semis. We beat we beat both. We beat the other semi-finalist and the finalist. We could have beaten South Africa as well, but we got absolutely klusenered. I think at Headingley. I don't know if anyone was at that game.
On the TV, yes,
Yes, we had them. I think we had them 50 for 5, chasing 230, 240. And I was just looking at some of these comments coming through. Hey,
Tabez's trying to troll me.
That was a particularly bad memory. And obviously, the other ones that you mentioned about the Razak 100. Shazad, what's your question?
Well, so we've discussed all the players who have been dropped and included. We've also discussed Hussain Talib, but one name we haven't brought up is Asad Shafiq. There could be one argument that South Africa, they are a stronger team. Hear me out. So we have such a young team now with 9 uncapped players. We needed to lean back on some of the experienced players. Asad Shafiq has been doing well, to be honest, in the match. He's the 5th highest scorer. So just based on experience, like test match, we say is made for test correctors. So he has experience. He had been with Pakistani team. We have taken out a lot of experienced players out of the team. Are we kind of well balanced with all these newcomers, or did we needed a little bit more experience flavor in the team?
No, man. 10 years at 6, which is the easiest batting spot, and he averaged 37. Not for me.
Amy?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean,
he's a potluck.
10 years. He got 10 years at that level, and in the end, we saw very little reward. It's time to move on. I mean,
not enough return on investment.
Give them a run. Let's invest in someone else.
But saying that, don't you think he was in the same league as Azhar Ali?
Azhar's average is like 44, and he bats at 3, man. It's way more difficult.
But Azhar's had more chances than Asad Shafiq, if you think about it.
No, Asad Shafiq played 76 test matches in a row.
Doesn't it read this stat and it basically tells you everything. Again, when he's in the top 4, he's only averaging 36. But when he goes out and when it becomes a bit more easier to bat at 5 and 6, he starts averaging 83. Says everything about Asad Shafiq as a player.
Yeah, he's a bottler, man. He's a bottler.
There's no guts in him.
Shazad, no, I'm sorry, I disagree as well. You're looking forlorn there because
No, it's not like I was like including him. I will keep him out as well. But there was a lot of feedback on social media and comments and friends that why Asad Shafiq was ignored. Given we have such a young team, sometimes an experience in the middle can give you some sort of confidence or boost.
But they got Babar back anyway, so they've got experience, you know.
Yeah, Babar coming back will be huge.
Look at it. I mean, if I was picking my top 7 right now, for an example, or if I was doing my 11, I'm just going to quickly do one. Imran Butt debut.
I've got to do one as well then.
Oh no! I'm
already ready with
one. I'm doing a word of experience. I'm just going by.
Are you trying to tease me?
Listen it out. Right, debut. Arbit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right,
agree with that.
You got experienced.
Agree.
You got Babar experienced.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
Wad Alam experience.
Yeah, fair enough.
Youngster experience.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're going with a number 6 as Sol Shakil, or if you're going with Kamran Ghulam, all right, you might have some younger. But if you go for Rizwan, again, there's no doubt, and it's a bit of experience there. If you go with Fahim at 7, or whichever way you went, experience. Hassan coming back, experience. Shaheen, experience. Yasser, experience. Where's the experience in the team? I don't get it. There's a lot of.
Don't forget, all
how
these
many
players
are going to play?
All these players, how much experience do they have? Apart from Azhar Ali, I think the rest of the team, they must have played less than 10 tests probably. So they all are new.
This is where us getting a series at home really matters, because Fawad's played for 15 years at home. This is Karachi. This is his hometown. You know what I mean? So that's where we're having these guys at home really matters. We're finally we get like a little bit of a home advantage.
Okay, so final thing now, and then we're going to wrap up. With the squads as they are at the moment, and with us all feeling optimistic because we've all got the best 11 in our head. Imi, prediction for the test series, 2 test series, go.
2-0 to us. I don't think the South African team is that good. If we like sort of implement our plans, I think we're going to win the series quite comfortably.
Just while you're saying that, I'm just going to put our overall record up against South Africa. Right, go on, Shazad. Your prediction for the series.
I want to win 2-0, but to be honest, we have a young team. I think it's all about mental. They have potential, but do they have mental strength? Because some of these will be playing for the first time against South Africa. So let's see. It seems
what's your prediction?
Prediction, come on.
I want to win 2-0, but it's going to be probably 1-0 to South Africa.
Oh God. Okay, Cal.
2-0 to us.
And Hamza.
Yeah, 1-0. We'll win 1, draw 1. Parla runs. Play 6 batsmen, keeper, 2 spinners, 2 seamers. No all-rounders. Stop flapping around.
He got his 11 in eventually.
Yeah.
Right, guys. Thanks very much for all those thoughts. Loads to get through. I'm sure we could speak for another couple of hours about all the players that are in and out and all that kind of stuff. Thanks to everyone who has commented as well. We are probably going to be here for the series doing watch-alongs like we did for the New Zealand series. So feel free to join in. We'll try and get as many of your comments up on the screen and try and respond when we can. We are all just normal Pakistan fans, and we just love talking about cricket, and we're happy to do that with any and everyone who wants to join in. So feel free and share on Twitter.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
That's the one. And inshallah, we'll see all you guys soon. We'll probably do another preview just before the test series, going through the kind of the finalized squads. And as we have to finish with every program, we end with Pakistan.
Zindabad.
That's the one.